Hey guys, Drew here. Welcome to another episode of the Every Arkansan podcast. This week we've got my friend Kim. She's here with Home Away from Home, and they help cancer patients who are traveling for treatment. It's an amazing ministry. Check it out. Kim, welcome to the podcast today. We're so glad you're here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Drew, I'm just excited to be here. This is such a great opportunity, and I just look back at my life. I was born in Northwest Arkansas, actually born in Fayetteville, and grew up in the Northwest Arkansas area. Went to college at UCA, and I didn't finish college. I was just one of those girls who just kind of dug in deep and was always enjoyed working and being around people and just digging in. So got into customer service and always have had a love for people. I got married and been married for 26 years to my husband Jim. Have two great boys, Brandon and Ryan. And before I had kids, I really had a love for just working hard, and I really was just pretty much a workaholic. And once I had kids, it kind of softened me up a little bit, and I enjoyed being a stay-at-home mom, and so just really have enjoyed family and getting into the ministry side of things now, and it's been a lot of fun.
And you lead a ministry called Home Away from Home.
Yes.
And what was kind of your journey to get to that, to go from, okay, I'm a mom, I'm working in sales before that, to being in the ministry full time?
Right. I've always been a very driven person, and little did I know that the Lord was really preparing my heart for this work long ago. And actually my background is in hotel sales and marketing, and so I dove into that and just really poured my heart into it. But little did I know He was training me all along. And so I think a seed was planted at a point. And really, when I think back, it was when I look back, my grandmothers, I have both of my grandmothers lost their life to blood cancer, one to leukemia and one to lymphoma. And so really a seed was planted, and just have worked right into getting into ministry work by following my heart. And there was a time period when I was a stay-at-home mom where I felt an emptiness almost. I feel guilty for feeling those feelings, but I knew that God always had a plan for my life. And what happened when I knew that I would go back to work at some point, and so when my kids went back to school, I dove right into searching and praying for what's next, Lord. And so the Lord led us to the Little Rock Church, and I tell you, I just knew that the Lord was working because He directed me to get to this church and learn about Home Away from Home. Quickly got involved in this ministry, and it's changed my life.
And you talked about having two grandmothers that passed away with cancer.
Yes.
You also were with 21st Century Lodge.
20th Century Club Lodge.
20th Century
Yes,
Club Lodge.
I was. That was, I worked there for 5 years. I've always been one that's just always been involved. I'm not a sit-around type person. So I, as I was, being the mom and kind of juggling things, I thought it was very important. I knew it was very important to keep my children involved in the community involvement. And so I had a friend of mine that was telling me about this really very, very part-time role as patient liaison with the 20th Century Club. And so I worked there for about 5 years, and that was part of my journey, stepping from the hotel sales and marketing onto learning more about patients and caregiving and working with the hospitals and such. That again is another stepping stone. It was fun because I could incorporate time with my kids and share with them about the importance of serving at a young age. And I remember going to, visit the patients and delivering little goodie bags, and just spending hours and hours just, with the patients, and it just warmed my heart to be that up and close. And so,
Yeah, and you kind of shared your story of you guys found a new church, you started getting involved, and it's kind of a funny story to me about how in the world you went from attending to a church to involved very deeply in a ministry overnight.
Yes.
So tell that little story.
I tell you, whenever the door closed with the 20th Century Club, I knew that it was just a part-time, they were building the lodge at that point, and I knew that it was just temporary, and when they built the lodge, that door would close, and I was prepared for that, but I didn't realize the hurt that I would feel inside of that longing to that type of work. I didn't understand it really, but I just continued to keep my faith in the Lord, and I knew that He would open the right door for me. But it was interesting, like you said, to be connected. At that time, we were searching for a church that was really smaller, more intimate setting, because our kids were still very young. And so my husband, one of his coworkers, and his wife, we had been friends for about 10 years, and so they invited us to the Little Rock Church. And so it was so meaningful to see how quickly the Lord was showing me, I've got this, Kim. Don't worry, I've got this. And so right from the very beginning, when the current ministry leader at that time, Regina, she'd asked me to get involved, I just immediately fell in love with this ministry. And the up and closeness of being one-on-one with patients. That time they had apartments at a 30-year-old property. You have to start somewhere, and that's what's so cool, is that it's part of the journey, it's part of the story. But I just remember, making the visits, becoming just these close friends with these patients and families. And so after about a month, she asked me for coffee one day, and I remember that day very well. And she said, just enjoyed the time together, but she said, I've been praying for a long time, Kim. My season is over with this ministry, and I've been praying, and my prayers come true as I feel that you're supposed to take over this ministry. And at that point, whenever she shared those words with me, I was humbled, of course, but I was like, oh, thank you, but I don't think that I'm quite qualified for ministry work. I've never done this before, and so I thought, oh, that's fun. But anyway, she said, Kim, I want you to take some time to pray about this, because I know that it's you. And you have the love of the Lord, Kim. You've got love people, and I've just kind of watched you, and I know that this is what it's to be. And so I took the time over the weekend, like she had asked, and I started reflecting, and I just started thinking back, and over the 17 years that God was working in my heart and preparing me, training me, and just all these things just became clear to me, even in such a short time. And my husband we prayed together, and it became very clear that this is what I was supposed to do. And so by Monday, I think I was excited enough to go back to Regina, and I was like saying, I was thinking, why me? But then, why not me? I was ready to allow God to use me, and I had no idea how powerful that would be if you just allow the Lord to use you. And He showed me that in a big way, just quickly. And so I jumped in and took the challenge, and I haven't looked back since.
And so, what exactly is Home Away from Home?
Oh, wow. Home Away from Home. First of all, I think it's important to say that this ministry started close to 25 years ago. And so 2 women had a dream or a passion about a need, and saw a need right here in our community where people were traveling from all over the world to receive treatment at the UAMS Myeloma Institute at that time. And those 2 women, they did something about it. And so the Little Rock Church started this ministry with just 1 apartment. And it's really cool to say, some ministries can start it off fresh with all brand new things and this and that. But I love it because, where we started was just maybe a used couch that somebody had, maybe some pictures, some decorative pieces or whatever. But that gave each little apartment little personality. But I remember even in one apartment when I walked in, I think there was a raccoon picture, which I thought was interesting. But it was just so cool, though. It was just like, this is where we've started, and so. But this is a ministry that provides housing for cancer patients, and actually all patients. Little Rock is a huge medical hub. And so we have UAMS, we've got Children's Hospital, St. Vincent's, Carti, Baptist, and all these medical facilities here in our very own community. And when they come in for treatment, just for instance, the UAMS Myeloma Institute, they're here for 6 to 8 months at a time. And so, yes, we have beautiful hotels, and yes, we have different options, but our option is very unique in the fact that it is a home setting, and it's a true home setting. And so this journey of providing love and encouragement and hope to patients at a level that you can't even put into words. You are making friends. You are being the extension of their family. You're just taking part in a very important need during a very difficult time. And so Home Away from Home just represents so much. But what I think it represents the most is that it's Christ-centered. And we try to be the hands and feet of Jesus. It's not about us. It's about showing love to these families who are coming to our community. But our apartments, the journey has been so interesting because when I think back to those apartments, and I just knew that I was to get to work, and that was to be, digging in and kind of giving it a fresh new look. And I remember meeting a wonderful woman, Pam Hamby, invited some women over from a Bible study group whom I didn't even know. And here I was faced with a load of apartments. I had no staff. I had just God leading me every day. And so many days I didn't know what I was doing, but I would just listen, and I would just have Him guide me. And so the first nudge that I received was really, let's get to work, Him. Let's get a fresh new look for these apartments. And so with these ladies that came to help me, we were doing a move. We were upgrading an apartment from a 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom, and so they were helping pack boxes and make a move. And I was kind of sharing some needs with the group. I was trying to build up some volunteers. And Pam, one of the needs that I had shared with was, I'm looking for someone that has a heart for design or a gift of design that can help me, with this. And so Pam kind of pulled up and just was excited to help me. And so over that year, we kind of went through and did some updates. And, we didn't have any funds hardly at all. So we were going to garage sales and we were going to, just all over town, just, maybe some donations from different people, but just kind of give it a fresh new look. And we were proud. We were so proud. And especially because we really didn't have any funding at all. We were just like, wow, look what we did. And so I remember we were there for a year and were so proud. But I remember one day I was in cleaning these apartments. And again, at that time, we didn't have any staff. So we're cleaning the apartments. We're decorating, we're moving, we're juggling the reservations, we're, doing all these things. But I remember specifically a day that I was by myself in a specific apartment, and it was, just heard some loud music, which I love music, but it was a little louder, and there was a little bit of mold on the tub, and I'm a very happy-go-lucky type person for the most part, but I was sad inside. I was like, just all these little things were going on in my heart, and I just felt the need of, we've got to get out of here. And I thought, how are we going to do that? It was just to the point where that property was getting a little crime in the area and things like that, and God wants us to provide our best. So I just remember being very sad that day, and I remember Pam didn't even know I was in the apartment, and Pam stopped by, and she basically she came in and she was like, "What's going on, Kim? With you? It was totally out of my character." And I said, "I don't know, Pam. I don't know." And so I remember her offering prayer, which she could always just really say a great prayer and comfort me. And so I remember praying together in that apartment, and that's where the real fun began after that day. I just, I felt a peace, and I just kind of had the feel that God was up to something, and I needed to get back on track and quit being afraid and quit being nervous about what's to come for Home Away from Home. Just allow Him to lead. And so once I started allowing Him to lead, it gave me a whole new, fresh approach of everything. And so I remember it was really quick. It was probably about a week or two after that. I remember there was a gentleman that had called me, and it was a gentleman that he never stayed with us. He did have the multiple myeloma disease. He was getting close to being in remission, but for some reason we didn't ever have a spot available. But he had some friends from his hometown that would stay with us. And I remember the day that he had asked to meet with me, and he would secretly pay rent for people, which I thought was really cool. But I remember he asked if he and his wife could meet with me, and I was excited to do so. I'm always excited to share the passion for this ministry. And so we met, and it was a long meeting, and he was staying in a hotel, and he just basically was saying how, he kept hearing over and over how people were touched by our ministry and how we were really impacting families' lives, and just from the outside looking in, he could really see and believed in us. And so, and so he just asked me to share my vision in my heart, and so I did. And at that moment, I just felt so excited. I had so much enthusiasm. Someone was listening to me. Someone wanted to help us. And so by the end of that meeting, this man that I really didn't even know well hands me a check for $10,000. And I'm telling you, $10,000 to this ministry was like $100,000. So that gave me hope. And with that $10,000, I remember there was a nurse that had always encouraged me to check out the Park Avenue lofts. And that's where we have 11 apartments at this time. But I remember her telling me, kind of planting the seed in my heart, that I should check those out. And I knew that we couldn't afford those. I knew it was close to UAMS and all the hospitals, but I didn't think that we could afford that. But I felt in my heart that day that, hey, we need to kind of maybe check that out. And so, long story short, things just really started happening. Doors were opening. People were starting to hear about us and learn about us more. And, we weren't just doing the work anymore. People were wanting to help. And so with that $10,000, we made the move. We got out of the older 30-year-old property into this fresh new apartment complex. And it was hard. I mean, I remember Pam and I would have Target baskets just filled with stuff, moving things. I mean, it's just, all the stories are just flowing through my mind as I'm sharing. But hard days. Days I just wanted to give up. Days of where, goodness, there's such a need. I've got to do this. Press in, Kim. But it took us about a year to really get the apartments all set. We have the Park Avenue lofts, which is close to all the the hospitals. But we've got the Palisades, which is out in Chenal Valley, and we've got 6 apartments there. So it offers 2 different apartment settings. But these apartments, we are so proud of these apartments, Drew. I mean, just to see how God has just swooped in, and we have everything that these patients need to make them feel like home. I mean, we've got, everything is stocked from the dishes, everything's now beautifully decorated, and just all the things that you have in the comforts of your own home, down to the books, games, and puzzles. But what is so amazing about this ministry is that we don't stop there. It's not just like, here's a key, good luck to you, we'll be thinking about you. I mean, we lean in. And so we have volunteers that make homemade meals. It's great fellowship, getting involved with other groups, and meals, encouragement cards. People make calls to our patients. all the different holidays. Just think, people are away from their families. They've been, diagnosed with this terrible disease, and they're here for 6 to 8 months at a time. That's scary. It's unimaginable. And so, for us to be able to be there for them and to love on them, to take a meal, to say a prayer with them, and, we just try to share love and just be there for them. But, these apartments, we just try to make them just feel warm, comfortable, safe, right from when they first walk in the apartment. We have a goodie bag to welcome them. We have a directory book that gives all the different things for the, things to do in Little Rock. Just trying to make them feel welcome in our community. And so, walkers, wheelchairs, just everything. And we continuously try to improve. That's important to us. So we're constantly asking, what can we do to improve? And I remember there was one gentleman, I haven't been through chemo, so I didn't even think of this. But, when we ask the patients, what can we do? How can we improve? We find it's the little things, just like a hook next to the tub that they can hang their chemo bag. Well, my goodness, sure, we can hang a hook. And so now when people come in there, we see all these little tweaks that we've made, but it's based on what the patients have told us. We try to personalize that for their needs, and so we think that's really important.
And I think it's important for people to realize, so if you and I were going into the hospital and we're staying in the hospital, they can stay in our room. I mean, it's one thing, but these are all outpatient type procedures that are long term. It's I had a little brother that had kidney failure as a child, and it was months and months in children's. Fortunately, we lived in Conway, and my parents could do the shuffle. But so many of these families that are in need of care that is going to either extend or save their lives, they're not from around here.
That's right.
And nothing is paying for these expenses. It's just out of pocket. If you want to live, they're doing this. And so if it's a parent at children's, so those kids are living there and in there for months and months, and one parent is staying here, or if you're going in for chemo and it's 6 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever that. Right. These are expenses that there is nothing else that's paying for.
That's exactly right.
And I mean, so it's really cool to see this ministry, but more importantly, see the church step into this ministry.
That's right.
To be those hands and feet, but also to do something different. I mean, it's real easy to say, "Hey, come to our church," but it's another thing to open up your doors.
That's right.
So that's encouraging to see. What are some of the other, families? Are they all from Arkansas that are coming in? Are they from around the country?
They are, Drew, you would not even believe. And that's what I think that our community really needs to be aware of this, the impact that these families bring to our community. We've got people from all over the world, and I was in hotel sales for 17 years, and I had no idea that how many people are really traveling into our city. And so when we have all these people traveling into our city from all over the world, from different states, hundreds and hundreds I'm speaking of, and they're eating in our restaurants, they're going to our grocery stores, they're doing all these things. So it's just the passion that I feel to share this is just, I can't even express it. It's a strong desire just to bring awareness of this true need. People, the families, they're just, they feel so alone. And it's so, to be able to provide a true home setting to these families, it's life-changing. And, even though we do have a cost for our apartments, it's very minimal. Currently our one bedrooms are about $52, $53 a night. And then our 2 bedrooms, and these are large apartments, and our 2 bedrooms range from 60 to 67. And so it takes off a big burden, but we, again, don't stop there. It's been heavy on our heart to grow our scholarship funds. And this scholarship fund is just in the last, from January until April, we were able to pour into families through our scholarship fund with assisting those families who may be financially within a hardship. And so we put in about $8,000 just in assistance alone through our ministry through from ministry partners that have helped us. And so we want to grow that fund. And so we try to qualify the call. There are different options that, that people can stay, like the Family Home or the 20th Century Club, that may be no cost. But we feel that our option is just a little bit different in the fact that it offers, a home, a true home setting with all the, where they can cook their own meals, do their own laundry, and things like that inside their own space. And so it's, in a meeting just this week, we were just praying about what could this look like, if more churches would get involved. What would this look like if a family would adopt an apartment and pay the rent for that apartment? And we would be able to put somebody that couldn't afford it all, that could have one of those apartments. What would it look like if a business would adopt an apartment and maybe help with the electricity bills or the rent or whatever, and then to be able to have them walk alongside the journey with this family, bringing them a meal and, helping these families to feel community and that is so important to us. I think that's what we need to share more of is community. And so it's fun.
What's the best way if someone's like, oh my goodness, I want to get involved with this? What's the best way to contact you guys?
Well, the best way to contact us would be just giving me a call.
And what's that number then?
Number's 501-530-0095. I think we've got a great website right now. It's through the Little Rock Church. Just basically the easiest way is to Google Home Away from Home Ministry. You'll be able to find our website. You'll be able to see pictures. You'll be able to see a 3-minute video that our partner Fellowship Bible Church helped us put together. That gives you a really good glimpse. That video is just 3 minutes long, so I think that's a powerful way just to learn about us. And then Facebook. Our Facebook page, I think it's fantastic. We do stories on there just to really share the hearts of the families. I just am having a lot of fun sharing about it.
Well, Kim, we're so thankful that you took the time out of your schedule just to come hang out with us, tell your story, and a little bit about your ministry.
Well, I'm honored to be here, and I'd love to. It's exciting to share now that we're going into a new season where we're seeing more partners step up that want to help us, and actually we've been given the blessing just recently from the Little Rock Church to take a step out, where we will be. Actually, we're in the process of becoming our own 501c3 right now, and so we think that's fantastic. We think that's going to open up the doors where more churches and businesses and organizations will get involved with us. But we lean in every day and just try to share the love of Jesus in everything that we do.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Every Arkansan podcast. A lot of times we forget that hospitality is a powerful gift that God's given us, and especially for someone who's going through something as severe as cancer. So get out there, figure out what your gift is, and use it to change this world for the better.